All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. I'm your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. You can shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That is down in the description. Both of those are down in the description. With that said, we have got the NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis today. Obviously, as you can see, if you're watching on the YouTube, that's at youtube.com/ actually, I don't think I have a designated link at this point, but Unqualified Analysis on YouTube, go subscribe there as well. And if you're watching there, thank you. But as you can see here, I have got my Vikings regalia on, this delightful tie-dye t-shirt here with Minnesota Vikings colors and Minnesota Vikings logo on it. So obviously, I'm recording this on Monday night. We are about an hour and 20 away from kickoff at 8 p.m. So in the interest of that, I'm trying to wrap this thing up fairly quickly. 2 Monday night games, so we got one less game on Sunday, so we should be able to bang this out pretty quick. No picks today. We'll see if I come across some I like, which actually, come to think of it, good thing I thought about that. Thank you. I don't know where I'm pointing there. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that. You didn't do anything, but I appreciate you doing it. Let me just pull up next week's lines here real quick, just so we can run through that. I don't have any picks picked out for next week yet. Haven't gotten a whole lot of time to. As per usual, there's a lot going on at work, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to do that today. But we'll run through here and see if I like any along the path. But yeah, in the interest of time, let's just get straight into the game so we can get this thing cooking before 8 o'clock, so I can watch every single second of my beloved Vikings break my heart in all likelihood. Anyway, you already know how that went. I don't. I'm inherently scared about these sorts of things because as a Vikings fan, if you've been a Vikings fan for long enough, you learn to be scared about these sorts of situations. Big game tonight. We'll get into that all in just a second. But starting off going chronologically, actually, you know what? There is one game that stood out above all of the others. Not exactly a banger, but a crazy high-scoring game nonetheless. So we'll start here. This was a huge one, so I got to hit this one off the rip. 4:25 Sunday evening, we had a colossal matchup in the NFL, a litmus test game for both teams, although we already knew who they were at this point. It was the Bills. It was the Lions. Obviously, we were riding with the Lions on the money side of things, but we stated from the very start, this is a no-lose situation right here. Either we lose the bet, or the Bills beat the Lions and all of a sudden the Vikings control their own destiny. Unfortunately for the gambling record, still went 3-2 this week, so not a big detriment here. We're riding that 500 line hard at this point. But to the detriment of the money side, to the benefit of my beloved Vikings here, we'll see if they squander that away on Monday night. The Bills get the win here, 48-42. I should have bet the over. It was a real fun over. I think it was like 55 before kickoff, and I was just like, man, in an NFL game, that's a lot of points. A few things go wrong, and you're not getting that. Really, the over was never in doubt. 90 total points scored. I think they went for 1,000 yards combined, the two teams. Josh Allen, in back-to-back games now, he has gone for 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and I believe is over 60 rushing yards. Before him, only one person had done that in NFL history, and that was Steve Young doing it once. Josh Allen has now done that in back-to-back games. Josh Allen is running away with the MVP right now. It was Lamar for a minute, but the defense in specific, was not holding up their end of the bargain. They've lost a good bunch of games at this point. They're still at a deficit here with the Steelers going down the stretch, though. They have some opportunities to make that up, be something to watch here down the final 3 weeks, I suppose, of the NFL season. But with them kind of falling by the wayside, Josh Allen, over the course of the last 4 games, I believe, is 14 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers whatsoever. He is absolutely lighting the league on fire, and it's 4 straight nationally televised games. He has got the inside track for MVP, and I don't know, barring something catastrophic for the Bills team-wise down the stretch here, I don't know if anyone's catching Josh Allen at this point. I mean, we're in week 15. He goes for Let me just pull up the exact numbers because, Looney Tune stuff here. 362 yards on 23 of 24 passing, 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground, also 68 rushing yards, 6.2 yards per carry. He is playing out of his mind right now. I mean, the first 2 possessions, they just not even walked down the field. They sprinted down the field for touchdowns, essentially. The Buffalo Bills, I mean, they are the best team in the AFC, especially with what happened in Kansas City, which I'm sure we'll get to here in due time. They have a real shot at the 1 seed. They're still 2 games back of the Chiefs, obviously, because they're 13-1 after this past week. But injury situation there with Patrick Mahomes, something we're going to have to follow, and we'll discuss here in just a minute. Plus, I mean, you're talking about a Bills team, even if they don't get the number 1 seed, and you want the number 1 seed if you're the Bills, because you do not want to go into Arrowhead in January, especially with the Demons there. I know the Buffalo Bills are a better team. They've already beaten Kansas City once this season, but you don't want to, I mean, it'd be the best spot to exercise the Demons fully. But at the same time, if you want to talk about favorable spots, obviously you'd rather be in Buffalo in that situation. But they're still, I mean, down the stretch here, we'll see what the schedule looks like here over the next 3 weeks. So, hey, favorable landing. I think they're going to breeze through this last 3. I mean, they got the Patriots twice with a road game to end off the season, and they have got the Jets sandwiched in between those 2 Patriots games. So the 2 worst teams in the division are coming up in back-to-back weeks in those games. Good landing spot for them, especially getting through this Lions win. They could very easily win out here, end up 14-3, and the Chiefs not guaranteed to do that. We'll take a look at their schedule whenever we get to them here in due time, but no guarantees that the Chiefs don't drop a couple games here and make this thing interesting. And if they end up tied, I mean, all the Chiefs have to do is lose 2 more games, and the Bills got that head-to-head. I'm pretty sure the tiebreaker goes to that head-to-head. I would hope it goes to the head-to-head first anyways. So something to monitor there. If nothing else, the Bills are the very best team in the AFC East and the AFC as a whole. Didn't mean to say AFC East first. It just kind of slipped out. A little bit tired. What else is new? But got to give credit where it's due. I mean, Jared Goff, just a downright solid quarterback now at this stage in his career. He goes for just short of 500, 494 on 38 of 59, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Dude was balling, just unfortunately the defense did not hold up their end of the bargain, and they never really had a shot, even when they were at full strength. And oh, by the way, they did lose. Not only did they lose David Montgomery for the rest of the season, he's having surgery on a torn MCL, I believe. So he'll be done for the rest of the season on offense. Not necessarily a bad thing when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, just means that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have the show all to himself, which I'm actually pretty excited about it. I'm sure some fantasy owners are just licking their chops about right now. But on the defensive side, much more notably, I think Aleem McNeil is expected to be lost for the season. I want to say they had Carlton Davis went down in this one too, cornerback. So at every level, they're just completely banged up. They are not looking good right now, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, defensive line, who's rushing the passer at this point? They don't really have anyone. I mean, Zadarius Smith now coming to town from the Cleveland Browns. I guess he's your number 1 pass rusher, but Zadarius Smith in 2024 is not Zadarius Smith in 2020, we'll just say. So that's something that I'm not sure exactly where you're going to get the pass rush from. I mean, Aaron Glenn is going to have to scheme some stuff up. They're going to have to manufacture a pass rush at this point if they want one. And without it, the secondary is so banged up at this point that you're not going to be getting a whole lot of push from that front 7. And the back 7 is not looking great. Brian Branch is playing out of his mind. But, I mean, outside of that, not looking great right now outside of that. The Detroit Lions here are just going to have to outscore teams down the stretch because I don't know if the defense has the horses. They don't have the sheer bodies on that side of the ball to sustain what they were doing early in the year, and it's a damn shame. I mean, especially with Aiden Hutchinson in the lineup, clearly far and away the best team in the league. They were already the best team even without Aiden Hutchinson in the lineup. Now with what they continue to lose week after week, it's just hard to see them going into the playoffs. I still think they're going to score points because even without David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs is about to go absolutely nuclear down the stretch here. Make no mistake about it. He's already the better back of the two. It's not going to help the short yardage for sure, but I think there's worse things in the world than Jahmyr Gibbs getting the full bell cow treatment down the stretch of the season, because I think he's going to show he's an absolute baller, especially behind this offensive line, and with the things he can do out of the backfield, catching the ball. I think he's fine. Are they still Super Bowl contenders? Absolutely. They're still right up there with the best teams in the NFC, but with that defense playing the way it's playing and losing all the players that they've lost, they've fallen back to the pack. I put them right, maybe a shade below even the Eagles at this point in the season with the way the Eagles have been playing, and right on the level of the Vikings. There's no more separation between the Lions and the rest of the NFC right now with the injuries that they've sustained. So this race down the stretch now, we'll take a look at what the Lions got here. Now they've got bit of a mixed bag here. So they're at the Bears this coming week, which I believe they blew them out of the water last time when they played them in Detroit, but we'll see. Bears, I'm going to root for you next week. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm not going to root for you most times, but right now, I'm going to need you to win the damn football game. That's for sure. Then they're at the 49ers, so back-to-back road games, possible tripping spots there. And then, of course, boy, oh boy, we've got ourselves a Stone Cold Classic here. The Vikings are coming into Detroit to play the Lions in Week 18. That one is most likely going to be for the division, barring something unexpected down the stretch here. Basically, the Vikings control their own destiny with this loss here by the Lions. If they win out, they're going to have a head-to-head win over Detroit that's going to knock Detroit down to 14-3, assuming that all else stays consistent for Detroit at that point. And then they would win the division and most likely get the 1 seed at that point if they don't drop a game along the way as well. So there's a lot on the line for the Minnesota Vikings, a lot on the line for the Lions too. I mean, this is the difference between the 1 seed and the 5 seed playing a first-round playoff game on the road and likely playing on the road throughout the duration of the playoffs. So massive implications on these next 3 games for the Lions. The only one that I think they need to be worried about is the Vikings. That's going to be a heavyweight matchup, and unless one or both of those teams just falls apart down the stretch and it's not really a game for the division in the final game of the season, you're going to get a real heavyweight matchup in that Week 18 spot. That's going to be flexed to a night game, whether it's Sunday night or Monday night. I guess there's no Monday night in Week 18, I want to say. So it's probably going to be flexed to Sunday night because you can't get a whole lot better than that. Hey, I'm looking forward to that. We've got, I mean, what a way to kick off the new year right there. I mean, we're ringing in 2025 with a stone cold banger there in Week 18. I'm so pumped for that. My goodness. The more I think about it, the more I'm getting ahead of myself. But that game, I think we've discussed it enough at this point. The Bills, legit best team in the AFC. I would expect them to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. I think they've clearly separated themselves from the rest of the pack at this point. And especially if they get home field advantage, they might walk to the Super Bowl. They're just that much better than everyone. Josh Allen's playing the best football of his career, and he's played elite football for a good couple years now. He's just hit another gear in this Joe Brady offense. Makes you wonder how long they're going to keep Joe Brady, but different conversation for a different time. Bills are spectacular. No question in my mind that right now Josh Allen is the MVP. And barring something catastrophic, I think he holds that until the end of the season here. And the Bills are just the best team in the AFC. I don't think they're demonstrably better than anyone in the NFC at the very top, but in the AFC, they're clearly the cream of the crop. So with that said, we spent the requisite amount of time on that game, which was a whole lot of time because it warranted it. It was the biggest matchup of the week, and it kind of lived up to the hype. I mean, there were times where the Lions were just getting blown out. Really, the final score was not as close as it actually ended up being, or looking anyways. There were times where the Lions were kind of getting blown out. I turned on Call of Duty, and then all of a sudden I see it's like a 3-point game. I turn back on the game, all of a sudden the Bills scored like right out of the gate, and it's a 2-score game with like a minute 30 left. Like, it was a strange fourth quarter in that game. Really strange fourth quarter. Probably should have stuck around and watched it, but your boy's in the midst of that Call of Duty grind right now. Just absolutely getting after it at the moment. But with that, let's just double back to Thursday night. Take this thing chronologically from here. Won't have to wait long until we get to some other big news of the week with the Chiefs. But we'll get through this Rams 49ers game. Real disappointment on Thursday night. This is a game that I went fast asleep. I think I might have fallen asleep in like the third quarter of this game. This was atrocious. The Rams got the win 12-6. They did what they needed to do. The 49ers continue to lose games. Just don't have the horses. We already knew that. I think they're pretty much falling behind at this point, and it's looking clearer and clearer that the NFC West is a one-bid league, and it's looking like the Rams or the Seattle Seahawks are going to be that one bid. I think they are tied right now for the division lead, if I'm not mistaken. More on that here in just a second, but big win for the Rams. Niners, hey, it is what it is. Sometimes you just get bit by the injury bug. Unfortunately, with the timing of this, you may have squandered the window that you had with Brock Purdy on the 7th-round rookie contract. With that said, we'll keep it moving from there. Big news here with the Chiefs, not the win. They won 21-7. Ultimately, Carson Wentz had to finish the game, and that was where the big news came in. Patrick Mahomes went down in this one with an ankle injury. Ultimately, you see a video of him coming out of the locker room, initially hobbling out of the locker room. Then a cart comes up. He hops on the cart, drives away, not to be seen or heard from again. Ultimately, looks like it's a high ankle sprain, just based on what I'm hearing out there on the podcast sphere, pretty much from people I trust. Anyways, that is all to say. I've not confirmed that. I just I'm taking it at face value based on the people that said it. So Patrick Mahomes, high ankle sprain. You already have 13 wins. You have clinched a playoff spot. Would it be nice to get the 1 seed? Absolutely. But do you want to risk your shot at a Super Bowl playing Patrick Mahomes in these next 3 games? I don't think that would be smart. I think that they're going to shut down Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to put him on IR because there's not enough time left in the season. You have to take guys off IR, I believe, before they go into the playoffs. That could be completely just blowing smoke right out my ass. But hey, sue me. Don't actually. But that's huge news. And especially with, let's just see what the Chiefs have coming up on the schedule. They have got, real opportunity to drop these games coming up. So they got the Texans at home next week. Not lived up to hype necessarily at all. Bobby Slowick probably out of a job after this year, if I had to imagine, with the Texans. But still, a team with a better starter than Carson Wentz, who will be the Kansas City Chiefs starter next week, I would imagine. Or, completely immobile Patrick Mahomes, because I doubt he's going to be very mobile coming up 1 week after sustaining a high ankle sprain. Either way, the Texans have the advantage there at the very least from a QB's perspective, and their defense is more than equipped to stymie a Chiefs offense quarterback by Carson Wentz. A Chiefs offense that already didn't look good with the best quarterback in the entire world as the starter. So that's a tough one. Then they're on the road in back-to-back weeks to end the season at the Steelers and at the Broncos. If I told you that they lose each of their 3 games, I don't think anyone in the world would be shocked by that. This stretch here, especially when you juxtapose it to the Patriots-Jets-Patriots stretch that the Bills have, the Bills need some help in order to get that 1 seed. But if Patrick Mahomes isn't playing in these next 3 games for the Chiefs, he might get it and then some. Might not even have to worry about a tiebreaker if things go as the Bills would hope down the stretch here. The Bills could really lock up the 1 seed and kind of cement themselves as an almost unassailable favorite in the AFC. This could be a real fortuitous stretch for the Bills. You never root for an injury for sure. Obviously, like to make that clear. But with the injury happening, it's fortuitous timing for the Bills given the stretch that the Chiefs are about to play with assumably a backup quarterback. So that's a real situation to monitor. I think that's going to be the biggest storyline in the AFC coming down the stretch here. That and secondarily Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson as far as the race for the MVP. I think that's maybe not over yet, but it's getting close to. But Lamar Jackson, the statistical profile is still out of this world, so he's got an opportunity. But getting sidetracked on that, the AFC 1 seed is going to be a story to follow here over the next 3 weeks, and it's something that we should all be keeping our eye on. I just wanted to draw your attention to that. The Browns stink. There's no reason to draw attention to their bad existence. Jameis Winston, I believe, got benched in this one, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson may be starting next week. They're undecided on the starters, so rooting for you, Jameis. Rooting for you. The Bengals, I mean, it was a typical Bengals game. Didn't exactly go as planned on defense, but they get the win 37-27. Ultimately, the saving grace for that defense is that they're playing a combination of Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. So, of course, they got multiple picks, a pick 6 for Geno Stone on Will Levis, kind of was the big difference in this game. And night, Bengals get the win 37-27. Joe Burrow, another fantastic performance. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 94 yards. He continues to be on fire. It's absolute heresy to call him the best wide receiver in the league in my mind, but I also recognize that is because I am a Vikings fan and inherently biased. Can't blame you for saying Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league. He's playing out of his mind right now. But Bengals, hey, 6-8. Not technically out of it just yet. I mean, they play the Browns next week, which will help. Hopefully you get the win there. You do play them at home, but as we've seen throughout the course of the season, might be more of a detriment than a guarantee on that one. So if they drop that one, it's all over. But after that, you got the Broncos, and then you're at the Steelers in Week 18 to end off the season. Not great. Not great, especially with, I'm seeing here, Sam Hubbard tore his PCL versus the Titans. Not great. Not fantastic. Not fantastic one little bit. So, the Bengals, you still have Joe Burrow. You still have Jamar Chase. Chase Brown even, playing very, very well in his own right. So, when he got that offense and those weapons, never out of the question necessarily, but it's a steep hill to climb. We're talking like a 55-degree sort of grade there on the curve, so to speak. Maybe like 35, whichever one is steeper past the 45-degree angle. I mean, they're going pretty fast uphill. Well, or it's sloping up pretty fast. The elevation gain is rapid right now. So good luck. That's the best I can say. Just good luck to you. Commanders avoided disaster. They beat the Jake Hayner and who else was it? Spencer Rattler led Saints 20-19. Should not have been nearly that close, but it is what it is there, I suppose. Jaden Daniels threw 25 of 31, 226, 2 touchdowns. Both of them going to scary Terry McLaurin over there on the outside. But Commies, 9-5. You get one more win, you're probably good to go. If, at the very worst, with the 7 seed, double-digit wins probably gets you in the NFC. But hey, what do they got coming up on the schedule here? They got 3 more games. They are versus the Eagles. Then they play the Falcons. Then they're at the Cowboys. So hey, they could go 2-1 the next 2 games, finish the season 11-6, and you're comfortably in the playoffs. Really, if you just win that Falcons game or that Cowboys game, probably good to go. But Commies, you're in a good spot. Great year 1 for the new staff there. Fantastic year 1. Certainly helps out when you nailed the quarterback draft pick. Didn't take a whole lot of thought, but it helps that you nailed that draft pick for sure. Okay, next up we have got the Ravens beat the Panthers. The Ravens beat the Giants 35-14. Enormous spread, 16-point spread at kickoff. Didn't matter. Ravens still covered. Lamar Jackson went 21 of 25. Every once in a while, and very frequently this season, he has these games where, for this one, for instance, 21 of 25, 290 passing, 5 touchdowns through the air. If you're keeping track or keeping score at home, that is more touchdowns than incompletions in this game. 154.6, just dumb passer rating, I suppose, if you consider the ESPN passer rating smart, I guess. Yeah. The Giants are bad. You saw, hey, Shedeur Sanders in town for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. He was, playing some catch with Malik Neighbors. Guess you love to see that. I guess, in this situation, it helps to curry favor with the Sanders family. And I think, having that little game of catch might go longer of a way than maybe people give it credit for down the line, I suppose, as far as willingness to not cause a stink if said team drafts you, because New York is going to be in that position. Ravens, keep winning, baby. Just keep on winning. You're one game back of the Steelers right now. Have one more head-to-head with the Steelers coming up this very week. Then at Texans versus the Browns. They could very easily win each of their next 3 games, get themselves to 12 wins, and then you're cooking. You're not going to be the 1 seed, I don't think, but you're cooking there at 12-5 going into the playoffs, probably with a division title at that point. So hey, just keep on chugging along. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We hit the over on this one, by the way. Ravens defense, still a concern. I know it's only 14 points, gave up only 2.8 yards per carry, but still, 14 points. Not fantastic against the Giants. I mean, I can't give them too much guff. I mean, 14 points is 14 points in an NFL game. But I mean, yeah, I'm just being a hater. They were fine in this game. They did all right. They did just fine. I'm being a hater. That's a good self scout right there. Self-scout right there. I'm being a hater. Ravens playing better. Zach Orr's defense catching on. That's all I got to say. Just catching on a little bit. Okay, so let's keep it moving. The Cowboys finally get themselves a comfortable win. The Panthers kind of revert back to some old ways there. The Cowboys get the win 30-14 over the Panthers. CeeDee Lamb goes for 116, a touchdown. Rico Dowdle is right now putting up like the Julio Jones of running back numbers. Well, he'll just get 1,000,000 yards. He got 25 carries for 149 in this game and just not get a touchdown. It's the damnedest thing. It is the damnedest thing. It's certainly not something you expect to see from a running back, but this is 2 straight weeks where he's just absolutely balled out and no touchdown. Nothing to show for it, but I digress. Bryce Young, as far as the attempts, completion percentage, all that sort of stuff, not terrible, but turned the ball over, I believe, 2 or 3 times, I want to say. Not a good one for this one. Yeah, actually turned the ball over 4 times. So 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Not a good game from Bryce Young. But I think it's important to note that he sustained 6 sacks, so the offensive line wasn't giving him really any help along the way. And in addition to that, I mean, it's worth noting his yards per attempt numbers. They're important because when his rookie year, he was consistently some of the worst yards per attempt numbers I've ever seen up until Bo Nix from the first 4 weeks of this season. Some of the worst numbers for a whole rookie season that I've ever seen, especially from a yards per attempt. I mean, a historically low yards per attempt. He was consistently getting sub 5 yards per attempt last year. It's important to note that he still went 7.8 yards per attempt in this game. He's still pushing the ball down the field. I don't think, even though this game was bad, this wasn't a confidence-shattering loss for him, and I think that's important. I think you can kind of treat this as Bryce Young's rookie year to a certain extent. It's the first year he's not in an abject shit show. Don't get me wrong, it's still a shit show, but it's not an abject shit show in a way that it once was necessarily. I think you're seeing some growth from him, and he's shown enough to be, retained in 2025 and not shopped around in the trade market. I'll just say that. He's good enough now to where I think they have a first round pick for this year, if I'm not mistaken, where he can just kind of go ahead or Dan Morgan, that is, can just kind of go ahead and draft best player available at whatever really high draft position that they end up being. So good progress there. Neither of these teams are very good. I think Mike McCarthy, having his team at 6-8, he's probably, coached himself into another year at this job. So, hey, credit where it's due. Hey, I am a guy that, stern but fair. I will levy my criticisms, but ultimately, if you do a good coaching job, hey, credit where it's due. I am not averse to handing out flowers to people that I have condemned in the past. It's one of my great joys, honestly. Some people hate to admit when they're wrong, and frankly, I do too. But when you can admit that you're wrong because someone actually did well when you did not expect them to, actually kind of a pleasant surprise. So hey, little golf clap to Mike McCarthy. Probably not going to make the playoffs at this point. Actually, let's look at the schedule. I'm a little curious. No, they're facing 3 playoff teams in these final 3 games. They got the Bucks, then they're at the Eagles, and then they face the Commanders in back-to-back weeks. They're probably going to lose these next 3 games, but little golf clap there to Mike McCarthy. I think you've done an all right job here down the stretch. It's about to get bad though. It's about to get not pretty, not fun. Cooper Rush, by the way, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Shout out to him. Consistently solid backup quarterback. You just don't want him to be the difference maker on your team necessarily. That's the best way I can put it. Anyways, let's keep it moving from there. Just wanted to hand out some flowers. Tamp down any worries that Panthers fans might have about Bryce Young. He may ultimately still end up not very great, but he's playing better. Anywho's, let's keep it moving. The Jets win a barn burner versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, 32-25 in a game that was truly only important for draft position. Mac Jones hit like a Rizzler celebration. One of the most supremely unlikable people in all the NFL. I mean, he's just, and maybe this is just me letting my own internal biases creep in. Like, to the people that have been to college out there, spent some time on a college campus, ingrained yourself, especially at a large university, like an SEC university with a big Greek life culture. And you'll probably see where I'm going with this. Mac Jones is the kid that, as a 18-year-old freshman, is rolling up as a pledge to the frat house with a $70,000 lifted truck. His dad is a lawyer. He's not paying for any of his bills whatsoever. Doesn't have to work because his dad has just provided everything for him. And you can tell this guy has never once been smacked across the mouth before in his entire life. That is Mac Jones right there, baby. Just one of the most, the worst version of that guy too. Like, just arrogant, supremely cocky, unlikable. No one wants to be around him. And hey, I hope he's not that way in regular life. Maybe this is just the way he is in a sports setting. But in a sports setting, he is the most unlikable frat douche in a lifted pickup truck that you have ever seen in your entire life right now. Daddy's money to a T in the worst way possible. And hey, just because you have daddy's money doesn't mean that you're an insanely unlikable person. It just means that you have a lot more opportunity for me to hate your guts, okay? And it's not your fault. It's the circumstances you grew up in, but Mac Jones giving me those vibes, supremely unlikable, but they lose the game. Doug Peterson's just clocking in, clocking out. He's not staying a minute after 5 p.m. He is going right home because no matter what he does down the stretch, ain't shit gonna change. He is fired. Trent Baalke should be fired, but he's not because he has to have like some sort of compromising media related to Shad Khan or something. I have no idea how he keeps keeping his job, but here he is. He'll probably be the guy to hire the next coach that flames out because of his bad GMing, but what do I know on that front? Jets-wise, they stink. I've already spent too much time on this game just explaining the whole Mac Jones quarrel that I have with him. Man, he just makes my ass itch. I do not like Mac Jones. And you know what? I'd be happy to have a beer with him. Hopefully. And man, I hope above all things that this is just a thing that comes out whenever he gets in a competitive setting. But this conduct does not speak well of your life outside of football and really just your personality, your character outside of football. And hey, I'd love to have a beer and have him prove me wrong. I just don't think I am wrong. Anywho, we'll just keep on moving from there. Texans win in a, not a pretty one, but a win is a win versus the Dolphins, 20-12 there in this game. Just not a good offensive game from either of these teams. Jason Sanders had himself an okay game, did miss an extra point, but actually, no, he didn't have a good game at all, come to think of it. He hit a couple field goals, so good for him, but missed an extra point, ultimately didn't even I mean, only came out for a kickoff in the second half. Didn't get a whole lot of work in the second half because the Dolphins went for two in the third quarter to kind of, you maybe kick an extra point and you win by 1 point if you score a touchdown. It never came to that because the Dolphins stink on offense. And Dolphins aren't really serious. Certainly not serious contenders, but they're not a serious football team as far as winning games is concerned. They crumble every time they face a team that's worth a damn, and until I'm proven otherwise, that's just going to be my base assumption for them. The Texans, I don't feel a whole lot better about them, but at least they're winning games, I suppose. Slowly but surely, kind of running away with that AFC South, probably the worst division in the AFC, bar none on that. The South divisions, man, always a little bit gross. Always a little bit gross in those divisions. But hey, we'll see what they do when they get to the playoffs. I don't love the makeup of and the chemistry of this team. Feels vaguely reminiscent to the Eagles of last year, but at least they're winning games down the stretch of this season. But at least they're winning games. That's the best I can say about the Texans. At least you got C.J. Stroud, and at least you're winning games. There's changes coming this offseason, though, I assure you of that. Broncos, also sneaky 9-5. They get a win over the Colts, 31-13. Got interesting for a little bit. But, hey, you just give Anthony Richardson some time, and he'll hand you the game at some point. And that's exactly what he did. 2 interceptions, another just classic 1940 stat line of 17 of 38 for 172 yards and 2 interceptions. Gross. Jonathan Taylor is dropping the ball before the goal line. I don't know how or why this keeps happening. Just sprint through the finish line, run across the baseline at the back of the end zone, then drop the ball. There's no purpose in dropping. It doesn't even look that cool, man. Doesn't really look that cool at all. Just hold on to the goddamn ball. And Colts are bad. Broncos are a pretty well-coached football team. 31-13, the final score in this one. Broncos very much carving out their spot in the playoffs coming up, and I'm fascinated to see what they do when they get there. Probably won't get too far, but valuable experience for this young core that they have going on there, and you got to love the direction that the team is going. You just got to love it. Not a great game from Bo Nix in this one, by the way. I've got to check the stats on this. Right back to early season Bo Nix. He threw 3 touchdowns, but 20 of 33 for 130 yards. That is a robust 3.9 yards per attempt. Also threw 3 interceptions in this game. So good touchdown production, if nothing else. But gross game from Bo Nix. These are bound to happen. This seems to be the floor for him. Unfortunately, is just catastrophically low yards per attempt numbers. So hey, you hope not to see that, but at least he's showing you a little bit more than the quarterback on the other sideline and Anthony Richardson, which he ain't got it. He just ain't got it. And this, hey, I could see why you gave it a run. I fully understood why you'd take Anthony Richardson where you took him if you're the Colts. Yeah, kind of thought this would happen. I mean, he only threw like 52% completion percentage in college. So I knew this was the strongest possibility, but at the same time, when you got a lottery ticket with that high of an upside, I can see why you pulled the trigger on that. Just didn't quite work out, and we'll leave it there. Colts have got some decisions coming up. That's a fact. They've got some real decisions coming up. Maybe they ride with Anthony Richardson next year, but I'd be shocked if they don't bring in a quality backup behind him that they would be comfortable starting for an extended period of time. Situation to monitor there. I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to be in not New Orleans, Indianapolis for a whole lot longer. Another big game in the 4 o'clock time slots. We had the Eagles beat the Steelers pretty comfortably, 27-13. Jalen Hurts, 25 of 32, 290, 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley didn't even look great, but Jalen Hurts had himself a really solid game, and the defense is spectacular. I mean, it's the best defense that the Eagles have had in, I mean, probably a decade. This is a really, really good unit over there with Philadelphia. And the Steelers, we'll just briefly touch on them. I think they've shown a little bit of their ceiling. to where they can beat good teams, rank and file, solid, like playoff level teams. No question about that. I still think they can beat the Ravens in this coming week. But there's just a different level when you start talking about specifically the Lions of the world. The Vikings are on the fringe of that, but certainly the Lions, the Buffalo Bills, and the Eagles, they're just not quite on that level. And when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, that's ultimately the ceiling that he lends to. So, hey, the Steelers are still a playoff team. Don't get me wrong. Just wanted to hit on that briefly because I think we've seen the Steelers at what their ceiling happens to be, and it is pretty solid. Could probably win a playoff game, but not destined to make a deep run. As far as the Eagles are concerned, with the sheer attrition that has been sustained by the Lions defense, I think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC right now. If you would have asked me this a week ago, I would have said the Lions, but Aleem McNeil and Carlton Davis, it's just a bridge too far. The handful of straw that ultimately broke the camel's back on that one. I still think the Lions are right up there, just a shade at 2. But the Eagles are just, with the way the defense is playing, they have the best running back in the entire league. Probably the best offensive line in the entire league to boot. Great receivers. A quarterback that's not going to shoot you in the foot for the most part. He might not have that high-end ceiling like a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, you name them. Probably not that high-end ceiling passing-wise, but he'll keep you afloat, and with that running ability, this is the best team in the NFC. Like I've said it before, I'll reiterate it here, I'll say it with my chest. I think this Eagles team in 2024 is better than the Eagles team in 2022. Flat out. I think this team in 2024 has a better chance to win not a national championship, this is in college, a Super Bowl than the team in 2022 did. And the team in 2022 was a play away from going to overtime with the Chiefs. And ultimately, who knows what happens when you get to overtime in the Super Bowl. So, again, these are just things to keep in mind. But the Eagles, to me, they just haven't been bitten by the injury bug. It's all luck at this point, but it's all kind of coming up Eagles right now, which makes it even more crucial that the Vikings win out throughout the rest of the season and lock up the 1 seed. I don't know what the tiebreakers ultimately end up being between the Eagles and the Vikings, but I just hope the Vikings keep winning because I don't want to go into the Link in the playoff game, man. Don't make me do it again. Just don't. It never works out well. It never feels nice when we go into the Link for any reason, whether that be regular season or playoffs. It sucks every fucking time. So don't make me do it. Just don't break my heart like that, please. Just don't. I'm certainly not going to the Link. Those fans are scumbags. It is not safe to be a road fan in Philly Stadium. They can have that to themselves. I like my life. I like my health. I like my sanity even. I wouldn't enjoy that. So I'm not going to that game for any reason, I would say, if it ends up being in Philadelphia. Now, we may have to have a conversation if the Vikings get to the Super Bowl, but we're getting far down the line there. Eagles, clearly the best team in the NFC. Clearly. Top 5 defense, an offense that with a top 5 defense can just grind you into dust and can score points in their own right. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs, and they have the inside track in my mind. They're the favorite in my mind to win the NFC. Cardinals get a much-needed win, 30-17, stem the bleeding there. James Conner goes for 110, 2 touchdowns. Not a fantastic game from Kyler Murray, but efficient ultimately. 23 of 30, 224. Good enough to win 30-17, so there you go. Gerard Mayo may be a one and done there in Patriot land. It's not going well. He's having a lot of the same problems as the former Patriot disciples, just in New England, which is some sweet karma for what they've done to the rest of the league as far as them hiring their assistants. So what goes around comes around, I suppose. But yeah, bad vibes for New England right now. At the very least, you got a quarterback prospect that I think you can feel really good about, but you better get the next head coaching decision right, because I think the current one was a swing and a miss, about as emphatically as you can get without being on a Frank Reich last year or an Urban Meyer or a Bobby Petrino sort of kick. So there you go. Itchy throat. My apologies. Buccaneers, they showed me something this week, man. They get a dominant win on the road at the Chargers, 40-17. Baker Mayfield goes 22 of 27 for 288, 4 touchdowns. Bucky Irving goes for $117. Mike Evans, boy, he is all the way back. He is just one of the more underrated wide receivers in NFL history. He goes 9 receptions, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was the difference maker in this game, and I hope he sticks around forever, because he could really challenge for some of those, vaunted Hall of Fame all-time sort of records. He's in a Hall of Fame regardless at this point, especially if he finds a way to get to 1,000 for his 11th season in a row. No question in my mind, he's a Hall of Fame guy. But the Buccaneers right now, sneakily, very sneakily at 8-6. They went on a hell of a losing streak there without Mike Evans, but 4 straight wins they've rattled off now. Now, granted, the Chargers were the only team that was worth a damn in that stretch, but you tell me where they play a team that's worth a damn down this stretch as well. So they get the Cowboys this week at home, on the road. Then they play the Panthers, and then they play the Saints. They could rattle off 3 more wins, finish the season 11-6, and be red hot going into the playoffs, with Baker Mayfield having a career year this year, a defense that can stop the run, that can keep you in football games in the playoffs. You want to talk about a team with a puncher's chance this year? It is absolutely and unequivocally the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating here in the really just in the NFC in general. I don't think they're as good as the top 3 teams, those being obviously the Lions, the Vikings, and the Eagles, obviously, as I'm recording this. I would put them right on the level, the Buccaneers, that is. I'd put them right on the level of, say, the Packers, though. I think the Buccaneers could, play the Packers tomorrow and beat them. Absolutely. I could see them doing that. And maybe not with ease necessarily, but very easily I could see them beating a team like the Packers. All I'm saying is they have a puncher's chance. I'd be floored if they went to the Super Bowl. But don't be shocked if you look up in the end of January and all of a sudden it's like the Eagles versus the Buccaneers for the NFC Championship. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if it happens, because they're feisty. This is a feisty team, and really their record has been tamped down by the fact that they had that just deluge of injuries for about a month stretch there, and faced off against some really solid teams in that stretch as well. But they're about to kick it into gear down the stretch here. They're going to probably win their next 3 games, finish the regular season with 7 straight wins. And with a team just riding the mojo like that, hey, we saw the Giants do it twice with Eli Manning. Anything is possible. That's all I'm saying. Anything is possible, and the Buccaneers are red hot right now. So, a puncher's chance. The NFC playoffs should be fun. That's all I'm saying. The NFC playoffs should be a good time, and I think the Buccaneers are going to be a big part of that in a way that maybe some people don't expect. Then, of course, we are ending off this episode. Well, not this episode, but ending off week 15 so far. I'm sorry for missing Monday Night Football last week. I really do apologize. I'm just a little stupid. What can I say? Just a little stupid. But ending this thing off, kind of a disappointment here on Sunday night. But the Packers go into a hostile road environment, and they get a comfortable win over the Seahawks, 30-13. Jordan Love goes 20 of 27 for 229, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs kind of closes this thing out. Ultimately, the Packers, they've acquitted themselves well. I think they are just a shade below those top teams in the NFC right now. But still, with that quarterback, hey, golf clap to Jeff Hafley for the job that he's done this year, because he's been a night and day upgrade over the string of defensive coordinators that they've had under Matt LaFleur. I think he's been doing some great creative things, and he's got some great personnel to work with over there. So shout out to him. When you got that defense, when you got that quarterback, you've always got a chance when it comes to the playoffs, and that's why I'm so excited about these NFC playoffs. But the big story coming out of this game is that Geno Smith went down with, I believe it was a knee injury, tried to come back into the game, I want to say, didn't work out. He hobbles out, and he's out for an indeterminate amount of time. Hard to say what that injury, the severity of it is. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. I'm sure we'll get an update on that as it all unfolds here. But the Seahawks with Sam Howell at quarterback, not going to cut it. Probably not a playoff team here. Now, you are tied with the Rams, so that is a positive right now. And you do have a head-to-head win over the Rams. That being said, you're staring right down the barrel of the Vikings coming up next week at home, but you are playing the Vikings with assumably a backup quarterback. Well, actually, no. So, this was 18 hours ago. So, for now, the knee looks okay for Geno Smith. That was 18 hours ago. I'm sure we'll get a bit of an update on that as this thing rolls along. But, so that's good news. That being said, doesn't help the fact that you play the Vikings this next week. You're on the road at the Bears, and then you're on the road at the Rams to end off the season. And the Bears, they're not a great team. They're a team that the Seahawks will ultimately beat in all likelihood. But they're still, not a terrible football team. They have a rookie quarterback who at times has been downright spectacular. Just hasn't necessarily had the supporting coaching staff around him to take advantage of what is at his disposal necessarily. But in a one-off game, hey, I could definitely see maybe Caleb Williams shining, giving the Seahawks a run for their money. Who knows what the injury situation is at that point for Geno Smith? We'll find out about that as the year goes along here. But hey, it's something to keep in mind here as we go forward, that the Seahawks most likely probably going to fall by the wayside. I think the Rams have the inside track to win this division. I think they're a better team, especially as they continue to get healthier down the stretch. Again, the Rams, by the way, another team, they're getting their healthiest at the right time, and they have a slew of weapons. I mean, an absolute arsenal to work with. The Rams could go on a run. There's legitimately 6 different teams in the NFC that could go on a run conceivably this year. The NFC is stacked, just stacked in a way that it hasn't been in previous years. I'm glad to see the balance of power shifting back to the NFC a little bit. You love to see it. I got distracted there for a second though. I need to verify this because this is fucking insane if it's true. Okay, what's the not a whole lot better. So, Geno Smith this year. Now, in comparison, roughly comparable yardage numbers for Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, right around that 3,600 range. Right around top 5 in the NFL yardage wise. Geno Smith has 14 passing touchdowns. 14. Baker Mayfield has 32 right now, I'm pretty sure. Geno Smith has 14 touchdown passes? That almost doesn't sound right. I mean, that's shocking to me. That's absolutely shocking to me. I think a lot of that has to do with being in a new offense, but doesn't change that I'm floored by that fact. Absolutely floored by that. Any hoozles. That's it for Week 15 for now. We'll talk about the 2 Monday night games, that being the Bears, Vikings, and the Falcons, Raiders on Thursday. And mercifully, we'll breeze through the Falcons, Raiders, but we'll probably stop on the Bears, Vikings for a little bit, depending on how that goes. That being said, let us take a quick little transition here, go on over to the games of next week. Let's see what we've got on the docket. So, starting off on Thursday night, we've got ourselves a solid little matchup here. Let's just hope it's not an absolute rock fight. That being said, it's the Broncos at the Chargers. Chargers favored by 3. Over under at 42.5, 42 depending on where you get it. And let's just say my lean is to the under. My lean is to the under on this one. Under and Broncos. I don't think I'll bet on the Broncos in this one just because I do still have a healthy respect for Jim Harbaugh and what he brings to the table for a team. And still facing off against a rookie quarterback with a solidly coached defense with Jesse Minter and co. for the Chargers. So staying away from it, but it's a lean to the Chargers and a lean to the under because these are two teams that are showing no aversion to playing rock fights this year, and I think that plays into both of their hands well. Hopefully it's not 12-6. Hopefully they deign us worthy to have, hell, I don't know, like a 20-18 game or a 20-17, something like that, where we get a little bit more, meat to chew on there. But it's up to y'all. It's up to y'all. Please do it. So the Texans are on the road at the Chiefs also next week. Texans favored by 2 in most places. You get a 2.5 over at FanDuel if you're looking to bet on the Chiefs in this one. Over under 39.5 as well. The Texans are on a strict no-bet list for me right now. I don't trust them at all, even with assumably a backup quarterback for the Chiefs. The lean is to the Texans, but I'm not bringing myself to bet them there at -2. I think that 39.5 is dead on the money. I think that's like right around where these teams are going to play. This one feels like a 21-20, 20-17 sort of game, right in that 39.5 range. So I'm staying the hell away from that. We have got the Steelers at the. Actually, no. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at Saturday. Whew. Sorry, I got real confused for a second. I forgot that we were in the age of Saturday games at this point. So we have got at 1 o'clock, that being the Texans Chiefs on Saturday. Boy, is it fun to be in this time of year, I suppose. Though college football playoffs will be on, and I'm just not sure that Texans Chiefs takes priority over that. Sorry about that. Sometimes the NFL loses, and if I got to choose between a college football playoff game and a regular season NFL game, that's not an abject banger or the Minnesota Vikings, college football wins. That's all I got to say about that. Also in the evening here on Saturday, we have got the Steelers at the Ravens. Ravens favored by 6. You get a 6.5 over at FanDuel if you are looking to bet on the Steelers. I believe Steelers got their number last time. I want to say the Steelers won the previous matchup with these two teams. But I don't know, man. The Ravens are playing for a lot right now, and they know the importance of this game. The Steelers have had their number in the past. I lean the Ravens in this, though. I think they're playing with a sense of urgency right now coming out of the bye. I'm not betting that, though. I'm not betting against Mike Tomlin in this spot. He has shown a real penchant for wizardry in this matchup in the past. So I'm staying the hell away from that. Looking with some lustful eyes at that 45, 44.5. Maybe a sneaky overplay. We may revisit that here on the Thursday episode. For right now, we'll keep it in the back of our mind, but that's a hard maybe right now. I think the Steelers can score some points on this Ravens defense. We got the Browns at the Bengals. Bengals favored by 7. If it was any team but the Browns, I'd bet on the Browns in a heartbeat. But it is the Browns, and the Bengals offense was probably going to light them on fire. So lean to the Bengals. Not betting on the Bengals at home, though. Over-under is 48, 48.5. Listen, I'll have to check some trends, see if there's anything favorable going on there. But Browns with a bad quarterback situation, I'm probably just going to stay away from this one altogether. So that's my opinion on that one. Now we have got Rams at Jets. Rams favored by 3 in this game. Over under 46.5. Now, no lean on the under, really. I'm looking pretty favorably at that 3. Problem is, it's pretty heavily juiced to 3, and I'm not willing to pay like -120, -125 juice on that -3, frankly. Too rich for my blood. So we'll have to see what that line does. Don't love that. I still would probably like it at 3.5, so we might just wait for that juice to stabilize a little bit. But in the meantime, that is one to watch. I'm leaning pretty heavily to the Rams in that one, just based on the dynamics of the Jets sucking ass and the Rams needing every single win that they can get right now. Eagles are at the Commanders, and my silence is one of perplexity, disbelief. So the Eagles are only getting 3 here in this spot. You can get a 3.5 over at FanDuel if you're looking to bet the commies here. Buddy, I'm seeing minus 115 on the juice here, depending on where you go. Buddy, give me the Eagles. I'm going to lock that in the second that we get done here. Give me the Eagles at minus 3, and we will revisit that 45.5 on the over-under. I feel very strongly about the Eagles' defense, and it'll probably keep me away, but that is worth considering. The 3 is a no-brainer, though. I'm taking the Eagles minus 3. They're just the better football team, top to bottom. Like I said, clearly the best team in the NFC. I know it's a tough road spot, especially with a resurgent commies fan base here. The red wave is coming strong across all of the eastern United States here right now. But still, the Eagles are just a couple levels above, and I think they're going to show it in this game. Eagles minus 3, no-brainer on that one. It's almost scary how much of a no-brainer that is, frankly. That's absolutely the number that Vegas wants me to bet. I'm just taking them up on their offer, frankly. Cardinals are at the Panthers. Cardinals favored by 4 in most places. You get a 4.5, over at FanDuel on this one. I mean, lean to the... I don't even know if there's a lean on that one. I like the way the Panthers are playing with the exception of last week. I like this spot at home as well. Cardinals are just such an up-and-down football team. I don't know what to expect from on a weekly basis. I'm just staying away from that line. Over-under is 47 in most places. You get 46.5 too. Just a little bit too rich for my blood. Maybe we'll revisit that, but for right now, just a little bit too rich for my blood. Titans are at the Colts. Gross. Colts favored by 4.5. I'm not betting my hard-earned money on this game, but a lean is to the Colts. Over-under is 42.5. Just bet the under out of principle, honestly, but I'm not adding that to the card. Lions are favored by 7, 6.5. You just got to shop around on that line. Lean to the Lions in this game versus the Bears. On the road, I got to see what the defense looks like. I got to see if the offense can really offset the deficiencies personnel-wise in the defense right now. The cupboard is real bare for the Lions at the moment. So I'm in a wait-and-see mode with them right now just to see what this new personnel group looks like, frankly. So I'm staying away from them for right now, but the lean is to the Lions. Over-under is 46.5. I'm just going to lock this in right now. Over 46.5 versus the Bears. I feel pretty good about that. I think both of these teams are going to get some points in this game, and I think 46.5 is simply too low. So that's the second one I'm locking in this episode. Over 46.5, easy on that one. I gotta wrap this thing up quick. Falcons are favored by 10 versus the Giants. Not betting on the Falcons, not with my own hard-earned money. But the Giants stink, so if I had to lean, it'd be the Falcons. Over-under's 42.5. Falcons ain't the Ravens. I ain't taking that 42.5 this week, baby. Vikings are at the Seahawks. Vikings favored by 3 in this game. Lean to the Vikings. Just better football team. Tough road environment, but I think they have the defense to cause some problems versus the Seahawks there. Not betting on my own team out of principle, but I feel good about that one. Over-under is 42.5, anywhere to like 43.5 even. You just got to shop around on that. Lean to the over, but 2 defenses that are playing solid right now. I'm not betting on that one for sure. Bills are favored by 14 in most places. You get as low as like a 13.5 if you're willing to pay the minus 120 juice on that. But 14 is where the number's most stable. lean to the Bills. Hell, I might even think about betting on this one. Minus 14 is, it's a lot of points, but the Patriots really stink, and the Bills are a juggernaut at home. Over-under is 46.5. I'm not going to bet it, but the Bills could hit the over by themselves in this game. Patriots are just a special brand of god-awful. 49ers are at the Dolphins. Dolphins are favored by 1.5. I guess the lean to the Niners on the road in this one, but I don't feel great about either of these teams, quite frankly. Over-under is 45.5. Just depends on where you go. Looks like the 45.5 is pretty much just sequestered to ESPN Bet and FanDuel at the moment. So lean to the Niners, and I guess lean to the under. I just feel like the number's a little bit too high. I think both these offenses have letdown potential. So I guess lean to the under on that one, but no hard and fast picks for sure. We've got ourselves a good old-fashioned cripple fight here in the 425 time slot here with the Jaguars traveling on the road to face off against the Raiders. It is a top 5 matchup in the worst way possible. We're talking top 5 in the draft rankings here, baby. Don't bet on this game. Just don't bet on this game. Raiders are favored by 1. Don't bet on this game. I'm not even going to give a lean to give you an inkling that you should bet on this game. Just don't do it. If you think about betting on this game, call the hotline. Over-under is 40.5. Again, do not bet on this game. Just don't. I know you might be in Vegas. Hey, it might be fun to bet on a Raiders home game. Just don't. Don't do it. Unless you're betting on a Brock Bowers prop, just don't even think about betting on any sort of results. Total, spread, doesn't matter. Just stick to Brock Bowers. That's your bread and butter right now. That's it. Buccaneers are on the road at the Cowboys. Favored by either 3.5 or 4, depending on which book you go to. I got a half a mind to lock this one in right this second, actually. Yeah, I don't feel like paying the minus 118 juice on that. It's destined to move to 4. So I'm taking the Buccaneers at minus 4 in this one. We'll lock it in after we get off the show here. But yeah, give me the Buccaneers minus 4. I think they've got ample personnel to make this game a blowout. Over-under is 49.5. Just depends on where you go. Pretty good mix across platforms here. That number is too high in my mind. I'd take the under on that. But Buccaneers are playing out of their mind on offense. I just think the Buccaneers defense is going to give the Cowboys fits. If they can hold the Chargers to 17 points last week, yes, CeeDee Lamb is better than what they have. Rico Dowdle is better, but Justin Herbert makes up for all that. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this comfortably. Give me the Buccaneers minus 4. For whatever reason, this game was not flexed out of the night slots. But the Saints are on the road at the Packers on Monday night. Disgusting football game. It's a travesty that this was not flexed out. This is horrid. This is just real bad. And I'm still going to watch it. I'm not going to like it, though, and you're not going to force me to. Packers favored by 13.5. Probably too many points. I'd probably lean the Saints on that one, frankly. I'm not betting on it just because it's too many points. I don't like betting on these big spreads. Over-under is 42 in most places. You get a 42.5. I don't know if the Saints score 10 points in this game. So lean to the under. Too low for me to bet, but it's a lean to the under at 42.5. And with that said, with what are we doing on time? Going to be hour and 10 minutes by the time we wrap this up. Good stuff, baby. Let's get us on out of here. I got to close out that video window because I don't like looking at myself talk. But that is it for this episode. Quick little recap. We added 3 picks to the card here. We have got I gotta take a look back. I probably should have made more of a mental note. So at the very least, we got the Eagles minus 3. Lock that in right off the bat. We've got the Buccaneers minus 4, and I believe, one moment please, One moment. Yes, we have got the Lions Bears over 46.5, and we got those locked in. With that said, though, looks like I might as well hit this one while we're still in the area. Who did they get? Who did they get? Who the fuck is Billy Edwards? Billy Edwards. I have no idea who that is, but he's the new transfer quarterback to Wisconsin, so good for them, I suppose. But with that said, thank you all so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. This has been the NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis, and I appreciate you watching and or listening. One little favor I ask, though, or two little favors. Subscribe, well, 3. Subscribe, rate 5 stars, share with as many friends as possible. Let's get this thing rolling, and I'd be happy with that. And if not, whatever. It is what it is. I gave it my best try, I suppose. But follow me on the Twitters at CalebVUA. Subscribe, rate, share, all that sort of good stuff. Shoot me a DM on Twitter or shoot me an email at unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Those are both down in the description. You can choose whichever way you want to get in contact with me if you so choose to do so. Anyways, awkward moment there, I suppose. With that said, though, I believe we've hit everything, hit all the beats. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing I learned this week, though, platypuses don't have stomachs. Their throats connect directly to the intestines. The more you know. And with that said, it's about 10 minutes to kick off, so I'm going to cut off this recording and go watch my team either make me the happiest man in the world or break my heart. Talk to y'all on Thursday where we all find out how that went. See ya.